So let's get the methods. So last week we went through the capitalize method where the first character is always made the capitalize. The example
Mm-hmm.
what we saw in the real world is that the way we write any comprehension or any English sentence, and the case full converts a string into lowercase, which is like
Okay.
to lower. They also have equivalent of a case full and the center. Like this might be sounding like what is a benefit you get out of center. Sometimes there will be like a few computations you may have to do depending upon the length of the string. For example, let's say if the length of the string is 15, and some they might ask you to do a first substring, do the search in the first stuff. During that case, you having a centered being returned will be like very handy for you. That's the reason for the center implementation. Okay. Yeah. So if you give a try yourself option and I give you a center equal to 20, so you see the right, the print word banana taking up to space of 20 character with banana in the middle. So it's basically the other way as well. So if you have to have, how do I say, you might have seen lot of command line argument, right? Command line thing where they neatly format the help command. Let me show you. If I type the man command, let's say man ls. So do you see how have they formatted the content? So they don't usually format the content by giving the white space. Instead, they understand the width of the screen, after which they try to compute, okay, in which if I have like 100, how do I make it center? You're getting my point. Let's say if the total white space in this given line is 100, or I mean the number of characters it can accommodate is 100, so the middlemost element would be somewhere from 45 to 55, right? That's how they try to tend to place it. Here in the same example, if you give a center of 20, which means on your left there will be like 5 characters and the right there will be a 5 characters. Here the banana word is 8 characters. So on your left, you will have like almost like 8 or something, or 8 or 6. I think 6 would do the job. 6 plus 8, 14. And yes, I think approximately 6. You get the idea like what is the white space I'm referring here, right, Sushmita, right? You see,
Yeah, so it's
if I,
20. So is that 20 is the space?
yeah, total space would be 20. If I try to copy paste and
Okay.
put it in,
Yeah,
let me just open it up. And if I try pasting it, you see,
got it.
you have to notice the column 20, which is like number of
Mm.
characters it can contain.
Okay.
And you have the count method, like the last time I mentioned, if you have to find a certain occurrence, let's say how many times A occurs, B occurs, like if you have to find some occurrence, then the count is very handy. And the encoded version, the encode is people tend to use it when they have a UTF-8 or those kind of encoding. We don't have to really go into an encoding world now because encoding on the
Mhm.
whole, it's kind of a very broader topic to understand. You may have to understand what is a ASCII and what is meant by Unicode, UTF-8 and UTF-16. We will try to refine it for time being. Later point, you will tend to understand why is that it's required. To put in very simple word, you might have heard about the ASCII, right? It is American standard, basically. So what does the English alphabet usually contains? It contains capital A to capital Z, small a to small is a Z, and 0 to 9, correct? This is the character. Or if you make it even more dummified, what and all characters you see in your traditional English keyboard, that is what it comes into the ASCII keyboard, okay, ASCII values. But if you go to or see any Chinese laptop or any other different country laptop, you might see few characters which are not in English language. Do you agree with me?
Yeah.
So in this example, you might have seen any French cafe where they have a grave accent. You might have seen, right? Where they
Mhm.
have a small tilde like symbol. Do you see here? La Cafe
Mhm.
E, this is what they call a grave accent. Grave accent they call for the E, which is a traditional E, but these characters not won't be available traditionally in our keyboard, right? So this comes under a non-English language, obviously. So in order to accommodate all the characters from different language, people have come for the Unicode encoding, which means they try to represent all the possible characters in the world, irrespective of whatever the programming language, they try to represent in a unified format so that computer can understand or can try to understand what characters are we trying to refer it. So that's where the encoding comes into the picture. Clear, right?
Mm-hmm.
Perfect. Anyways, we will once you start working with any real world application, this encoding problem will come and bite you for sure. At that time, anyways, we'll later part we'll understand. But you got the idea, right? If you have a characters from non-English language, how are you gonna handle that? That is very, very important. You see this example here. My name is Tail. You see some strange characters being encoded here, right? So if your
Mm-hmm.
encoding is incorrect, you might also have this kind of a jargon or maybe a kind of a noise coming into the picture. So sometimes if you encode it, it will properly. And you see here, how are they encoding this character into a proper character? This is how they represent the character internally. The computers usually understand.
So in tail, is it A or is it some special character?
This is for a character from a different language.
Okay. Okay. So when it
If
is
you
like
try
that,
to,
we use this encode property.
yes, see, this is a Swedish one. The A on a sound
Mm-hmm.
like a Danish and
Mm-hmm.
Swedish language, like mostly the Finnish one. So they have this character.
Okay.
So
Got it.
like each language has its own set of character set. It might be sounding like A, but they have a different meaning altogether. See,
Mm-hmm.
non-ASCII, non-SI standard Armstrong. Okay, this is an Armstrong number. You might have studied. We might have studied in chemistry and physics, right? The Armstrong number,
Yeah.
alpha, beta, gamma, those things. Those also come into the same equation, same story here.
Okay.
So how
Okay.
do you represent it? You may have to have a standard encoding or a standard keyword so that you can encode things properly. Likewise,
Okay.
the other important things are the ends with, whether this character ends with a certain substring. Let's say if you want to find a word like Narendra Modi, and if you want to find one and all word ending with Modi, then you can use a ends with option. And the other
Okay.
important thing is the find. If you're looking for
Mm-hmm.
any specific character set in a whole bunch of string, assume that you're
Mm-hmm.
gonna hunt for a word in a whole text document. Maybe this
Mm-hmm.
is where the things would be. For example, this is the name list I have. In this file, if I have to go and find for a particular word, then you may have to we use a control F, right? What does it do? So it has
Mm-hmm.
to try to search for it. If I search for a word Vira, then it's trying to go and find the word. Like same way, if you have to implement the same functionality in Python, then the find is the
Mm-hmm.
option. People
Okay.
usually people when they tend to learn a programming language, they usually in a high school or a or the college time, they ask you to implement a simple text editor in the language of your choice. Even if you take a
Mm-hmm.
simple notepad, you may have to provide multiple feature. Maybe you can have this as
Mm-hmm.
your assignment as well, maybe after few class. Let's say that editor will have
Mm-hmm.
provision to type, provision to save, provision to delete, provision to search a character and go for it, and provision to replace. This we might have been doing using the control F or control H commands. If you have to implement things on your own by the language of your choice, then using a string method will come you very handy. Correct? Do you agree with me?
Yes.
So this is how people tend to apply the concepts whatever they tend to learn. Maybe you can have this as a small takeaway assignment and have a first provide option. Maybe in this option again, maybe option number one, it will allow you to edit or create. And second, if you want to do any search, you can, because being it's not a graphical user interface, you'll not be developing. You can expect the arguments back from the command line or from the user. That is where now you can employ the input option. You remember the input command, we try to accept the argument from
Mm-hmm.
the user, right? You can use the
Yes.
input and you can set the option what is the operation the user like to do. Depending upon it, you can act accordingly. If you are a little bit clever enough, you can even set the hotkeys. Hotkeys, what I'm referring to is that you can set if what happens if control plus H been clicked upon. You can set your event listeners. That is pretty different concept, but the syntax wise is pretty much very simple. But if you want to make it very smart, you can have your same shortcut command what you use in your traditional editor, let it be a notepad or sublime or a pycharm, whatever editor is. Most of these options are pretty much the same. Clear?
Mm-hmm.
And you have your find option and the formatting the string. Formatting allows you to handle the values accordingly. For example,
Mm-hmm.
for only price to F, which means two decimal places. That's how they tend to format it, 2 hyphen F. They tend to change the values accordingly. You see the your option here, right? They dynamically tend to pass the value and they try to update it accordingly. So they have like a different format specifier through which you can define the format accordingly. Say for example, one interesting use case I like to show is the not a percentage formatting. You see, here they just define 0.25. They didn't do anything fancy. But how
Mm-hmm.
much a decimal place? I think six decimal places would be the default. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 decimal places. Or if you like to restrict the decimal places, you don't have to really go till the end. See how are they formatting it. So this will be very quite handy whenever you are designing a customer facing application. So you don't like to have your bill with these many zeros to be embedded, right? You might
Mm-hmm.
all seeing that people tend to round off to the nearest value. You might have seen a lot of bills that if you buy anything for let's say $1, 5 cents or 52 cents, 52 point something, they round off to the nearest value so that you don't have to really search for the pennies actually. Likewise, people tend to format it and act accordingly. There's a simple operation what we learned in high school with something called as the floor and seal. They format the number accordingly. Got it? Why is it
Yeah.
the formatting is really required into the picture?
Yes.
And you can also check whether it's completely the alphanumeric. Alphanumeric, as I said, it consists of 0 to 9 and A to Z. So that is the actual character set limit.
Mm-hmm.
Usually, how do I say an example they have? Yeah. You see the character set, right? This is the maximum character set provided in the alphanumeric. Likewise, you can check whether it's only alphabet A to Z, capital A to Z. You can check is alpha and is decimal, the value is decimal, is a simple digit or not, or is an identifier. Likewise, you can have multiple such checking parameter through which you can do a comparison against a string, whatever you have in your, let's say, whatever the string you have in your code base. Clear?
Yes.
Perfect. Now, let's go into the integer methods. What are the different integer method? Then we will jump into the list operation. So regarding the integer one, as we know that we are able to do arithmetic operations on top of it. What is arithmetic
Mm-hmm.
operation? You can do a division,
Mm-hmm.
multiplication, subtraction, plus operator, and you can do equal to. All these are comes under the family of the arithmetic operators. Uh, and it's pretty simple. Just say 5 plus 5, you get the answer. 5 minus 5, you get the answer. So depending upon the use case, you will be able to type the way you want. You don't have to really do anything fancy. You will be able to do the operations traditionally. Like I said last time, you'll also have certain method, but those are not so much widely used. But that can be quite helpful in few use cases. Here, if you want to understand what is the imaginary part of it, yes, still you can go ahead and find it. Let's say 5 dot imag, which would be a 0. It says that it's not having a syntactical issue over here. Let's try to define in this fashion. Paste. See, the imaginary part is 0. If you check the real part of it, it will be 5. Get the idea, right? So by imaginarily, the people will represent 0 plus 0 I. You might have read in high school, if you remember back way back in your 7th grade or 8th grade. You might have some faint idea about the complex and real number, right? So the high school math of it, we have the real part and the imaginary part. Now things apart, now we will try to understand the most important part of data type in Python is the list. So what list is all about? If you have an array of values, how do you go and represent that? For example, you can have array of value 1, 2, 2, 3, 4, 5. You have array of values. What are all different operations you can perform on it? Let me do it. Just say my underscore list equal to my underscore list dot. Maybe I'll get it over here. So if you see a different implementation, likewise a count here as well, it tries to count for certain entries. If you want to count any particular values in it, you can go and give count of 2. It will find how many times the count is being there. The index is also try to find what is the index is being it's getting started. For example, if you search for the word like and if you have to find where is a u getting started, if you provide the option u, it will say that it is found in the index position 1. So the position is actually written over here, and the sort is used to sort the value. Like let's say if you have ascending to descending or descending to ascending, you will be able to make the change. Let's try with this use case. If I have to say count of 1, let's say count of 3, your occurrence is actually 1. If I same here, if I try to add one more 3 into it, we have 2 3s inside the implementation. If I check the value of count now, it returns 2. Likewise, if I have to sort the value, it's straightforward. You can by default it's ascending to descending. If you give the value, you will be able to, let's say, value here. Let's do the sort here. Strange. How do you see the implementation of the sort here, right? So now I have the
Yeah.
value of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I have a minus 4. So if you
Mm-hmm.
want to sort the ascending to descending, I have just enabled dot sort, which sorted my value accordingly. You can also tend to reverse this the logic from descending to ascending. That is also
Mm-hmm.
that if you say reverse equal to true, then it will come the other way. See,
Mm-hmm.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, minus 4.
Okay.
So depending
Mm-hmm.
upon your over it, like what and all the options you like to have it.
Mm-hmm.
And the
Mm-hmm.
next important method is that you have your the insert option. Insert option will try to go and insert a value at the end. So if I do a print of my list, so it'll tend to print the value according to me. So you see
Mm-hmm.
expected to, why is that? Insert objects before an index. Okay, it's expected to provide some index value. Let's say 3. It exactly inserts before I think 0, 1, 2,
Mm-hmm.
3. Or let me
Mm-hmm.
put in this 0 the value any before the start.
Mm-hmm.
Where is a 10, 10, 10, 10? Oh, it's the 0 and 10. Yeah, you see it's getting appended at the first value, right? Because I'm just
Mm-hmm.
mentioning where is my
Mm-hmm.
value to be. Or if you don't care about the starting position, you can also use the append method. If you say my list dot
Mm-hmm.
append, let's say
Mm-hmm.
100, it goes to the
Mm-hmm.
last, obviously. You see?
Mm-hmm.
So depending upon your use case, you can do a simple insert. Insert is to insert a specific location. Append is used to append at the end, and you can also delete or pop some value accordingly. You see
Mm-hmm.
copy, clear, pop. Pop tends to remove the first value from the thing. If I do a pop and do a my list, just have to keep watch of it. What is the previous and the before and after
Mm-hmm.
pop?
Mm-hmm.
You see here, if you notice here, the value gets popped here. The last element got popped. The 100
Mm-hmm.
get destroyed from the whole list. So the pop, this is
Mm-hmm.
how the pop works. And my list dot the reverse, it's pretty much tend to reverse the value. Remove is tend to remove a particular value. Let's say if
Mm-hmm.
I have to remove this value called 5, I have to print it again. Print. See, the 5 got removed from the list completely. So this
Mm-hmm.
how the all the different methods inside the list works. Clear?
Yeah.
Okay. Now we just till this point we just had kind of a theory part. Now let's try to take some real world example where we tend to work with ES. Now we will define small routine where we need to massage or transform the data and act accordingly. So do you have any specific use case or something comes to your mind which we can?
No, no, actually no, because I never worked on this kind of project.
Yeah, that's fine. But let's say if you have to do some automate something, we can take up small activity of that. A minified
Okay.
version. Let's say there could be some automation activity being assigned to you, right? Or there could be a request.
Mm-hmm.
Something
Mm-hmm.
like that. If you have something in your mind, we can try
Mm-hmm.
taking up that. For example, you got to read the value from Excel, and you may have to send a mail to a specific person, or you may have to trigger something. Like there is a good book you should read at least for having the high level view. Boring automate the boring stuff. Yeah, automate the boring stuff. So this is a very good book where they
Mm-hmm.
use a Python to automate the boring activity, which people tend to
Mm-hmm.
do very often. If you see here, I just looking for some examples code. Mm, let's think about web scraping. Web scraping is a very exciting area altogether. I'm trying to find a simple one. Let's say take the example of the list. What are they trying to automate here for their finding or negative index? So in a daily activity, which is the most frequent activity you do it often on daily basis? Something that comes to your mind where you keep spending a lot of time, but you think that something can be done. You have something like that?
Maybe like routine health checks like that. We can automate. I think so. The clusters.
Okay,
So
let's take
there's
a
order
simple.
up and yeah.
Okay, yeah, sure. Maybe we will do something
I
here.
just got that in my mind because usually I saw like so many scripts similar on that.
All right. So the routine health check you mentioned is a very good use case. So what you like to manage, whether it's an application or the system, anything specific like that? You have anything on that like that?
Mm, no, not really.
Okay, maybe we will take an example of this machine. In this machine,
Mm-hmm.
I have like 8 cores. Okay, means a 12 cores I have this in this machine. If
Mm-hmm.
my memory exceeds more than certain GB or if it exceeds certain GB, then I may have to alert my user. or I have to keep printing that you are exceeding, you have to do something. Okay, let's try to ls mem size. Okay, available online, and this is the range and top. So this is almost 4 GB, 4 point. Sorry.
Sorry, nothing. I'll be on mute.
Okay. So here we tend to understand what is the memory being allocated for a given machine. LSMEM is trying to do, or let me try to see, get current memory usage in Python. So I'm just trying to find is there any simple method where I can collect the all the metrics which I'm supposed to do. Use a PSUtil. Okay, there is a simple Python code which tends to collect the memory information. Memory. So it says my maximum memory, the current utilization is like 10.2% out of my total memory. The total memory is that I just use it 10 point. If I have to find the exact current memory, print use memory, I think usually gives you in byte. I think is 4 GB approximately. Now I can write a small trigger saying that if it exceeds a certain memory thing, I have to notify that my user is exceeding it. For that, I just say here while true. This is a kind of very similar use case where you do a health check continuously. Here I'm do a continuous check without even giving a single second delay. I'm keep checking it. If my used memory is greater than 5 and 5 GB approximately, then say print limit exceeded, nothing more. So if I run this code, or if I say else, print within range. So if I run this code, you see it's keep checking that I am within the range, okay? But if I start opening multiple application, I'm opening my Firefox, I'm opening my LibreOffice, I'm opening a few more tabs in Brave. So, okay, there's this one small bug in this code. The bug here is that it checks the memory for the first time. We have to place this block within the while loop because it checks only once and keep repeating multiple times. You see, the limit exceeders keep coming. If I start closing my multiple application, what I got created, now my memory would subsidize. If I start closing multiple such thing, still it's not reduced. Let me close few more tabs. See, now it came into within the range. Earlier I had the out of memory. Now it came into the range. So I'm writing a small subroutine which keeps checking whether the application is up memory requirement is within the range or not. I'm not doing anything fancy. Did you get the idea what I'm trying to do here?
Yeah, yeah. But maybe I should see like how this syntax and how it's return internal statements.
Yeah. So if you
Mm.
ask me frankly, do I know the exact command to get the memory utilization, which I don't know. Still, I have to refer
Okay.
the internet. I just do a os.p open,
Mm.
which tend to do it. Or if you tend to run this command, you can actually
Mm-hmm.
run this command. I think it's the Linux command, I guess. You see,
Yeah.
it gives the total
Mm-hmm.
memory and all this information. They are doing a simple cleaning operation on top of it. Actually, we can try to do stimulate the same behavior. If you copy this entire content and if you put into the, let's say, string operations. So I have a huge, let's say, memory simple string, okay? Do you agree with that, right? I'm not doing anything fancy here. I'm just putting all the values from the memory
Mm-hmm.
string. After which, I'm trying to use a split method. They say read line and they ask you to split it. Now I say a memory string dot read line thing, and I say print has no attribute read line. Okay, why so? Read line -1 use memory map and integer smap, or maybe we can try say it is trying to split. Now let's I'm just making small modification to the output string. Split, okay. List has no split. Memory string is not a list, actually. Should be of a type string. Print type of memory string. It is a class, but if I do a split string, okay, then we will run through this part. Now do you see? So the transformation we spoke sometime back, right? This is the actual command we run from a command line to get what is the total memory requirement. Here they are trying to do a transformation on the string to get what is the relevant memory information. My memory information is present over here 4816. How do I go and get it? Just split the line. That is my I just trying to split all the line. I'm truncating the first line from my equation, after which I'm main concerned part is this is the part I'm more concerned, the used part. You see 46491 and you have all the values over here, right? This is the part. Do you see here how are they trying to obtain the values accordingly? So this is the reason we tend to learn the string operation where we can transform and extract the relevant information accordingly. Clear?
Yeah, yeah,
You got the big
yes,
picture, right? So this is
yes.
a practical use case, like having a data and how are they using a string operations to get the required information. Now let's stop today's part with the last concept today we will learn about the control statement. Till this
Okay.
moment, whatever we learned is all sequential, right? Whatever we tend to speak, it's all line number 1, 2, and 3. It tries to execute line one by one. But in real world, you can't expect everything to happen in sequential operation, correct? You
Mm-hmm.
might do
Mm-hmm.
multiple hops to do the operation, or you might do multiple
Mm-hmm.
steps of the same kind. The good example
Okay.
you mentioned, if you just have to keep checking whether the application is up or not, whether database is up or not, whether the machine is up or not. In that scenario, you have keep checking a specific condition. If something is not working out the way you expect, you tend to report it, right? So that
Yes.
likewise, if you like to climb a step, what do? You don't stop at the fifth step. You try to complete all the step to reach a specific floor, correct? In that
Mm-hmm.
case, how is human being wired? Keep climbing till you reach the desired floor. That is the instruction we give to our brain, right? How do I
Mm-hmm.
say that? Okay, keep walking. That's where the while statement comes in. While you tend to say that till you reach the floor. You say while and till the reach a condition. Or in
Mm-hmm.
simple term, who is eligible to vote? If a government has to take a consent, people who are above 18 can make a vote. If that is the case, And then how do you go and really make a thing? If the age is greater than 18, then please issue a voter ID for this person. Does it
Mm-hmm.
make sense to you how the condition is being checked? Or
Yeah.
there can be a multiple scenario. If you try to book a IRCTC ticket, you might have noticed that people above a certain age, there can be a different concession. You might have people, government will be providing. People within this range, they will have a different quota. Or if they have to take a ex-serviceman, they have a different quota. Likewise, for a given operation, for even for a simple ticket booking, there can be n number of scenarios. According to the scenarios, the business or the business logic would change. That's where the if else condition come into the picture. So if you have multiple business condition or a logic, then if else is the right option. If you have a single logic, then if else statement itself will do the job. If you want to keep repeating multiple things, then while statement will be very handy. Or if you are very definite about the number of times a step has to get executed, then you go and choose a for loop. Clear? For loop allows you
Yeah.
to defines you to
So
provide the iterations.
okay, I got one doubt here. So you have used the print statement to split lines -1 and then split from one, right? So
Yes.
yeah, can you just tell once like how this one -1 means like alternately backward, no?
There's a concept of negative index in Python. That's where the
Yeah,
list
yeah.
actually comes in. Let's execute one
Mhm.
by one. Why we
Mhm.
can do a simple operation. Let's do a simple memory string dot split lines. I'll
Mhm.
tend to go and comment this line. And
Mhm.
I next line I say print memory thing split line uh, and I say within bracket -1. So
Mhm.
return type of split line here is the list, and this is the individual element,
Mm.
digital element, and then
Okay.
you have your one more split in which you are trying to do a third split altogether. I say print. So let's understand one by one.
Mhm.
So the first statement, you have your whole chunk. Let me just print it
Mm.
as it is. So this
Mhm.
is the actual string. You have your whole chunk of data with you. When
Mhm.
you do a split line, word itself indicates that splitting by the new line. The
Mhm.
new line, what people tend to say that the this is a end of line, right? This is line number one,
Mhm.
two, and three. How do you say that? Okay, there is
Mhm.
a new line been originating. So people
Mhm.
usually represent by slash in a computer terms,
Mhm.
because
Mhm.
in order to computer or any types like if you might have seen any typesetting machine, right, the old
Mhm.
typewriter where they move their hands with left to right, so when they touch it, it makes that say that it reaches the end of the line. Likewise in computer, the end of a line is indicated using slash n. So this is the thing they usually represent. This is they call it non-printable character. Usually the tab we give, right, multiple white spaces, even that actually belongs to slash t. So
Mhm.
this they call as a non-printable character because you cannot really print these character, but you tend to get the formatting. You get the idea. That's why they people call as a non-printable character.
Mhm.
Now, if I have to print, split it based on the number of new lines. This is 1, 2, 3, and 4. This is number of new line. That's where the split operation happens. Now, when you do a -1, what really happens here? This is how the split happens, and the -1 actually tend to go say that last before one or the last line. If I really don't know what is the index of my last one, this is a zero, right? So usually
Mhm.
in computer, the counting starts from 0, 1, 2, and 3. If your array size is 4, or I will just put in a very simple term. Let's say, take an example of a word, Sushmita. This is your word, right? Your name, right?
Mhm.
If I
Mhm.
say name of 0, what do you think will happen now?
Um, my first letter, like S, will come.
Yes. You might be
Mm-hmm.
thinking like why the hell they started with 0. There's a reason behind it. There is a standard paper to define why the computation of computer starts to count from 0, not from 1. But on the other hand, if you're trying to find the length, let's say length of name, if you provide, it will give you 9. That will count only from 1 to the next number. If you say 1, 2, 3, 4,
Mm-hmm.
5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So if you
Mm-hmm.
do a length, it gives you the total value, the exact value. But if you want to access the individual element, then you may have to say the position number. If I say -1, now I'll get the value of A.
Mm-hmm.
So this is what people call as a negative index. So what
Mm-hmm.
is before A? If you try to think like a circular array, what I'm referring to as circular array, whiteboard. So let's say, let's use a word called hello. So if you tend to represent this hello in a circular fashion, H, E, L, L, and O. You start from 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. You have 5 character. This is 0, right? 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. If I ask you to find what is the last character your string contains, then the naive implementation, what people will think that let me count the what is my length, then I'll say -1, correct? If I, in this example, what is my length of the word? We know it's 9, right? If I have to
Mm-hmm.
access this value, then I would say name of 9 minus 1.
Mm-hmm.
I get the value of A. If I do you get the idea, right? I have to do this complex operation. Instead, I say it's -1. Then going back to the logic
Mm-hmm.
of your circular implementation, what is before 0? It is -1, -2, -3.
Mm-hmm.
You get the idea, right? How it's been implemented now. If you
Yeah.
go and provide, this becomes a very cleaner interface. That's why they say, I know my value resides in the last value. So it is pretty much easy for me to go and hit the last record without even specifying like length -1. I'm doing two operations, right? Instead, I'm
Yeah.
making my interface very clear by saying like -1, which goes to the last record. That's the reason we tend to say -1.
Okay.
Got it?
Yeah.
And I do a split. Again, I'm trying to divide this row into 3 value. If you do a split on this value, what happens? Total is 1 value because it splits based on the white space. You remember, right? The logic we discussed
Mm-hmm.
some time back.
Mm-hmm.
So it's 1, 2, and 3 and 4. Now you see
Mm-hmm.
1 hyphen colon, which means
Mm-hmm.
you will discard the total. You start the counting from 1, 2, and 3. 1 colon means
Mm-hmm.
1 to n. That is what they are trying to refer here. If you
Mm-hmm.
say 0 colon or let's say colon colon, the total will also come into the picture. If you see the output here, now the output has like
Mm-hmm.
46491, right? If I run with the colon alone, the
Mm-hmm.
first value also will come into the picture. You see, total is also
Yeah.
coming now into the consideration.
Mm-hmm.
If I run it, I see only this 4 value. If I just say 2, then I start the occurrence from 2,
Oh,
4816386664.
okay.
Get the idea? So
Yeah, yeah,
-1, you
understood.
learned about the negative index now. You also
Mm-hmm.
understood how you can specify the how to display or which from which position you like to display the values. I'm saying to only from 2 to n. So this is the
Mm-hmm.
flexibility I get out of the strings operation, string and the list operation. Got it?
Okay, got it. Maybe I should
Any
practice this similar thing once.
Yeah, the example I gave you, right? You try taking up the
Definitely.
small exercise what we discussed. You try to
Yeah.
implement this small logic, because if you know how to implement this logic, your string logic could be very clear. At first, you might be very linking very daunting, but you can
Mhm.
think like what are the features we expect from a simple notepad like or notepad plus plus. How many functions they would have
Mhm.
written to make it very robust, but it's a very simple editor. You can try this,
Mhm.
and we can meet tomorrow and we can try to discuss how we can try implementing this small code from your end. Okay.
Okay, so like, can you give me an example? Like, how can I implement all these steps here?
Okay, I'll just give a rough pseudocode. Assume
Mhm.
that so I have four options, correct? I have to say
Mhm.
type, save, delete, and so on and so forth. Let me say I'll just type input. I'll say provision to type. I'll say it is one dot. Likewise, I keep duplicating. It's 2, 3, 4. Let me say provision to type, save, search, delete,
Mhm.
and replace.
Mhm.
I just got this rough value. Now I have to
Mhm.
collect this value accordingly. Let's say
Mhm.
OP underscore 1, or you can make things even more clever by saying slash n. You can get all the value as a single stretch.
Mhm.
I'm just using new line. Do you notice now? Do you notice it?
Mm.
I'm
Yes.
using, instead of saying going to new line explicitly, I'm just saying this is how I like to represent it. Let me
Mhm.
just do it for 3 case. Now if I
Mhm.
just print it, print OP1,
Mhm.
you see type 1, type 2, type 3. Now I have to
Mhm.
get the input. Let me assume that I need to type something. If OP equal to 1,
Mhm.
equal to 1, let's say you assume this is a type of string, and you
Mhm.
have to start storing that value, correct? Now again you have
Mhm.
to prompt, say enter the text.
Mhm.
I say enter text, and I'll get the data back from the user. After which, if I have to keep getting the next value, I have to do a search, right? I'll
Mhm.
say if uh, or I'll say elif
Mhm.
op equal to 2, not 2, maybe we'll do a simple find thing. No need to do even to a save.
Mhm.
Save you can try. I'll say a find operation. Then I say my text underscore text equal to dot find,
Mhm.
and I just say input what to find.
Mhm.
I say find text. I just have to make sure it goes to the top. Now let me try making it to while true. I'm just keep repeating it.
Mhm.
What is it? So I keep repeating it. I have to also say the instruction.
Mhm.
Else, if it's anything else, I say exit. I just want to exit.
Mhm.
I just have to accept 1 and 2. You may have to implement other things. If I
Mhm.
run it, bing. Okay, it should type input. Oh, is it expecting me to type? I just say slash n just to make it on the new line.
Mhm.
Okay, now it's going to the new line. I have to enter my option. Now I want to enter the text. I'm just entering 1. It's asking
Mhm.
me enter the text. I say I like I like India. I like
Mhm.
France.
Mhm.
This is my text. Now it's
Mhm.
asking what is will have provisions to find. I need to find something. Now I'm typing
Mhm.
option 2. It is asking what to find. I like to say France. I'm not implementing case
Okay.
sensitive part. I'm just typing as it is whatever they have. I say France.
Mhm.
It got it says I'll just have to say print statement here just to say
Mhm.
where it got found. Let me stop and terminate and run it again. One, I like India, I like France. And I say two, and I say France. See, it whether it
Mm.
got found or not, it's returning back whether it is able to find the information or not. So you got the idea, right? How we got to implement other functionalities, whatever we discussed now. Likewise, you'll keep
Five.
adding.
No. Actually, why is coming -1 there?
Now the search is not able to make a hit. I think the fine. Let me
Mhm.
search. It just do a substring start and real set nature. Returns the lowest index.
Written
Sub is found
-1 failure. Yeah.
on failure. Let's see why it is
Mhm.
returning failure. There should be some problem in the input, whatever we are trying to find. Let's
Mhm.
check where is our editor. We have to check uh, what is the value really coming. Find text.
Mhm.
Stop and rerun. I say 1. That says 2. France. So France is there, but France dot find. Why I'm not able to get my text? My text is there and fine. Is it? Let's print the my text. Sometimes this could be a small bug.
Mhm.
Uh, okay, the my text is actually getting destroyed when the next time it comes because it tries to loop in. So the only small
Mhm.
thing I got to do is that this is the programmatically implement because every time it's keep checking and sub making the value to 0. The next time the loop
Mhm.
counter comes in. That is the
Mhm.
reason. That's a programming bug I had. Now I say, now it should work. I like India, I like France. I say 2. Now I say France. See, it gave the occurrence equal 20.
Yeah.
Now you have got the idea, right? If it's a graphical user interface, that will take you to the exact location. That will move the cursor
Okay.
to this point, saying that this is where the France actually exists. Now you get you're able to connect the docs dot, right? How a
Yes.
editor implements a different string implementation. Now I just
Mhm.
implement a simple option to you. Now you can free feel to go and implement the as many options as you like. But try to
Mm.
get implement 2 or 3 things by today so
Mm.
that you get to know.
Okay. Sure. I'll do it.
Perfect.
Yeah. Okay.